Success demands the maximum, pushing teams and pilots to the limit. As in every motorsport, it requires the finest race machinery. Red Bull Air Race planes are designed to be fast, light and supremely agile, but also robust and durable enough to tolerate stresses up to 12 times the force of gravity. Not even fighter jets can pull up through the air as quickly as these small one-seater race planes. The most popular is the Edge 540, but the MXS is a state-of-the-art rival. Each plane has a wingspan of around 7.5 meters. It's around 6.5 meters long. As with every aerobatic plane, the wings have a symmetrical design that allows them to fly upside down just by pitching the nose up. Each plane can climb through the air at more than 3,500 feet per minute. The roll rate is 420 degrees per second. For safety and a fair competition, each plane runs a standard engine and a standard propeller, unique to the series.
This engine is specially designed for the Red Bull Air Race. Since 2014, these engines have been standardized, which means that teams are not allowed to modify or tune the engine in any way. The engines are standardized for 2 reasons. The first reason is to ensure that all the race teams have the same horsepower. This makes sure that the battle for the Air Race Championship is fair and exciting. The second and even more important reason is safety. Having a non-modified engine is more reliable than a modified engine, and when you're flying at 200 knots, 20 meters above the ground, reliability is a very good friend to have. Masterclass race engines are horizontally opposed, 6 cylinders that are air-cooled. These engines produce about 320 horsepower at 2,950 RPM. Once on the track, these engines run at full throttle throughout. These engines are fitted with a Christian inverted oil system. This system consists of a couple major components, an air oil separator and an oil valve. Both of these components have weighted valves inside so that gravity affects them when the aircraft turns inverted, and they ensure that oil supply is maintained to the engine in any aircraft attitude. With the help of the air oil separator and the oil valve, this simple system allows the aircraft to fly inverted with oil supply being maintained almost indefinitely. As with the engine, the propeller for the Red Bull Air Race World Championship has been standardized since 2014. The Air Race propellers are 3-bladed Hartzels. They have 7690 blades, built mainly of Kevlar with a stainless steel shank. They also have a nickel erosion shield on the leading edge. Before these became standardized propellers, most of the pilots were using them anyway because they were the best you could get. But how does the propeller work? The design of the blade is very similar to that of the wing of the aircraft. The wing has an angle of attack to the incoming air in order to produce lift. The larger the angle of attack, the more lift that is produced, but there's also more drag produced. So every wing has an angle of attack where it operates most efficiently. In the simplest terms, a propeller is nothing more than rotating wings that pull the aircraft through the air, similar to how a wood screw pulls itself into a piece of wood. As we said, there is a specific angle where a wing works most efficiently, but for the propeller, 2 velocities come into play: the rotational velocity of the propeller and the forward velocity of the aircraft. The result is a relative airflow to which the angle of attack of the propeller should match. The tip of the propeller blade is traveling much faster than the root. So because of this, the tip is much flatter angle of attack than the root of the blade. This is something we call pitch distribution. Aircraft travel at different speeds, so for low speeds, a flat pitch is best, like a car in a low gear. But for higher speeds, such as race speeds, a much steeper pitch is needed, like a car in a high gear. This Hartzell propeller has counterweights. When spinning, these counterweights try to force the propeller to a high pitch angle. This force is opposed by an oil pressure on the backside of the hub, which tries to force the blade to a low pitch angle. This system allows the pilot to control the pitch of the propeller from the cockpit. This is what we call a constant speed propeller.
Besides the engine and propeller, there's not one stock part on any of the Air Race planes. Each one is engineered and tuned to perfection for maximum performance. They have a minimum race weight of 697 kilograms. Moving the weight towards the tail means the rear wing has to produce less downforce to keep the plane balanced. Less downforce means less drag, and less drag means more speed. But the plane may become more nervous and difficult to handle, twitchier in one of the pilot's favorite words. The most visible tuning part is the winglets or wing tips. The idea is to reduce the vortices at the end of the wing. The smoother the airflow, the less drag, and the more speed for the plane through the track. But it's not just winglets that are refined. Every single component is aerodynamically optimized. Rudder, wheel cover, canopy, and turtle deck. Some teams also work with vortex generators to improve performance by maintaining a steady airflow over the wings.
Over there!
Always, they want to avoid a wing stall, when the airflow over the wings cuts out the lift needed to hold the plane up. One major part consistently being worked on is the cowling, the engine cover. A cooler engine delivers more power. But there's a delicate balance between efficient cooling and reducing the levels of drag at the front of the plane. The rising level of performance at the Red Bull Air Race has given the technician a highly specialized and relentlessly demanding role.
It's been a few years now since technicians really made the airplanes fast. You know, back in 2009, 10, even a little bit 14, you would see this going on where the technician was making changes and maybe building some parts and rough modifications or making the plane lighter. And that level of design and engineering has gotten so complex to get the last little bits out of performance that we're after. It's shifted almost to a dedicated engineering role. So the technician's job in today's race is to make sure the plane is performing at its peak potential as a priority for the sport, and then of course as reliable and as safe as possible.
Sometimes the wheel cover, if you change the size or the shape of it, you're changing the airflow, and that can give you maybe 1 knot. You may say, okay, 1 knot, that's nothing. Yeah, but 1 knot is 200 of a second, which is a lot of time nowadays for air race.
And he's just 200ths off the pace. Matt Hall now does that beautiful roll out of the VTM. He goes clear of Schonker. It will be close. Oh, Schonker has just won. Schonker wins round 6.
As you see, I mean, we've seen more qualifying, you know, out of the 14 guys, 12 are within a half a second. I mean, you know, half a second's nothing.
In this game, you have to keep adapting. Otherwise, you know, if you stand still, you're left way behind.
One of the keys to a competitive plane in 2018 was to add water to the air cooling system, or running the engine wet, as the pilots say.
I'm not sure it's the big advantage that everybody thinks that it is. Our airplane tends to run very hot, and we end up having to cool our cylinders with fluid, and we've done that pretty well to keep our engine temperatures under control during the race.
If you copy other teams, you're always one step behind. You need to be, or try to be, the first one to implement the modification, and then let them copy you, but they will be behind you.
Innovation and creativity, two priceless skills which can dramatically improve a team as well as the confidence of the pilot. Francois Levotte made a significant step up after hiring technician Tobias Odenwald, who won the 2016 championship with Matthias Dolderer.
Why is it getting better in 2018? First, I think I'm much more confident in the plane. I finally managed to set up the plane as I wanted to. Toby is a huge igniter for new things on the airplane, so we are trying to follow his pace.
Sometimes you have to push him a little bit, I think. We force him a lot to try different things, to fly different lines, to fly different styles, to fly something harder, to fly something softer.
So he tries to fly all the time horizontal, and he is doing small correction because he's from aerobatics. This is not the way you're doing racing, because the correction cuts speeds, but racing is to be fast.
It's challenging because I've learned for 3 years to make my flight smoother, and all of a sudden, now I have to go back to high roll rates and sharp corners.
François is one of the best pilots I'd ever worked with. If I tell him he has to fly a maneuver in a specific manner, then he just reproduces it.
Now he can use his potential.
I'd like to be consistent in the Final Four. Why not winning a race?
The idea behind the air race is simple. The pilots have to fly through a track laid out with inflatable pylons. Over the years, the pylons have become a symbol of the Red Bull Air Race, but they've changed dramatically in construction and safety. In 2019, each pylon stands 25 meters high in a cone shape, measuring 5 meters around the bottom and 75 centimeters around the top. They're all made from a special sail material, which allows the pylon to burst instantly on impact with a plane. Each one is divided into 9 segments. That means only the damaged part has to be replaced when a pylon is hit.
Lap 2, he's looking quick, he's picked up a penalty, it's gate 9, he's clipped the pylon, and that is the maximum of 3 seconds penalty.
This design enables the airgator crew to change a pylon in as little as 90 seconds. Each track includes pylons that can either stand alone, form an airgate as a pair, or be part of a line of 3 in a chicane. They can be placed anywhere over land or water, which allows the series to race across a range of unique, exotic, eye-catching locations all over the world. The teams are given precise data on all the tracks and spend hours doing simulations to research the fastest racing line. Finding the best line is a constant challenge. Different approaches suit different pilots. And over each race weekend, tacticians in every team are fine-tuning their strategy by comparing the data from simulations with live results from race conditions. Visualization and repetition are also key for pilots to learn their lines for the big occasion.
Los grandes deportistas están construidos de excesos.
You have to work a lot in your mental preparation because this is a mind game. We fly with our minds. The goal is to get to race day in the best mental state that you can achieve.
En el deporte de la alta competición, en cualquier deporte, a la hora de competir, es tanto un acto físico como un acto puramente mental.
Now watch the Spanish pilot carefully with a very aggressive style.
The thing about Juan is that he's very stubborn and a perfectionist. It's good to be a perfectionist, but also I think you need to have limits. That's a great mental point to develop.
Depende de la mentalidad del deportista, así va a ser su nivel de competición, así va a poder explotar todo su talento en un ejercicio de puro rendimiento.
Is this the kickstart of Velarde's challenge for the 2018 title?
I see a direct relationship between good mental preparation and good performance in the race.
Watch for the ghost plane of Schonka, because this could be a big surprise here. Juan Velarde is just ahead now, just behind. Here comes Velarde. Has he got a little extra speed? Penultimate gate, and now to the Hamilton gate. He's just missed it.
To make the races even more dramatic and exciting for the thousands of fans around the world, the Red Bull Air Race is flown in a series of duels. The pairing for the first 7 duels in the round of 14 is based on the qualifying results. Fastest against the slowest, second fastest against second slowest, and so on.
Schonka is in trouble here, and Kirby Chambliss has thrown the championship wide open because Schonka now is 1.12 off the pace and is struggling to beat Chambliss, struggling to fly quicker than Goulian. His day is over. Watch the clock, watch it carefully. Schonka is out of the race.
The 7 winners, plus the fastest loser, progress to the next round, the round of 8. The pairings here are based on their times in the round of 14. The 4 winners in the round of 8 then progress to the final 4, which is pure racing against the clock. The fastest time wins the race.
As Gulian goes for the line! It could be a win for the Czech Republic. It looks to be Schonka's race. Matt Hall comes late, comes fast. Will it be America or Japan? A quarter of a second. Mikey Gulian wins the season opener.
New for 2019 is a revamped point system to make the races more thrilling and the championship even more competitive. A race winner will now earn 25 points instead of 15. The runner-up will get 22 instead of 12, and there are 20 for third place, with points available all the way down the finishing order to 13th. Qualifying also becomes more important in 2019 because the top 3 pilots in the session will all score points on a sliding scale. 3 for first place, 2 for second, and 1 for third. But the goal remains the same. The pilot with the most points at the end of the season will be crowned Red Bull Air Race World Champion. To keep the championship safe and fair, the Air Race has a rule book, applied and acted on by the judges and race director watching on from the race tower. Rule 1 is smoke on.
18 Kopstein cleared into the track. Smoke on.
Pilots must ensure their plane is producing smoke from the exhaust. Failure to do so incurs a 1-second time penalty. Rule 2 is entry speed. Each track has a set speed, which the pilot mustn't exceed through the start gate. If a pilot goes faster by under 2 knots, it's a 1-second penalty. If it's 2 knots or more, it's a DNF, did not finish. Each pylon or air gate has to be passed at the top 40% of the pylon, clearly marked in red. The reference point is the pilot's head, and if it passes below or above that level, it's a 2-second penalty for flying too low or too high.
Oh, 2 seconds of penalty for Kirby Chambliss. He's gone too high.
Flying through the gates, wings have to be level. There's a tolerance of 10 degrees, so if it's more than 10, it's a 2-second penalty. Pilots are not allowed to climb or descend in the gate. If they do, 2 seconds will be added to their time. Hitting a pylon is spectacular, but it's also a 3-second penalty. Hit another pylon, and it's another 3 seconds. Hit a third on the same run, and it's a DNF. The pilot is out of the race.
Gate 9, he's clipped the pylon, and that is the maximum of 3 seconds penalty.
Staying within the limits of the track is critical. If a pilot gets his angles wrong and crosses the safety line, a defined boundary between the track and the crowd, the penalty is immediate disqualification. One of the most important regulations is the G rule. Modified for 2019, pilots can now pull up to 10.99 G with no penalty. More than 11 adds 1 second, and more than 12 is an instant DNF. The new season of the Red Bull Air Race promises to be even more competitive, with the margins between the 14 pilots ever finer. Since its official launch in 2003 in Austria, the series has evolved and developed into the most sophisticated aerial challenge in the world.
The very first race was just here in Zeltweg, behind me, 12 years ago.
It was quite adventurous. It was first time I heard about some plans was in around 2002.
I made some drawings with the gates, with the starting gates, finish gate, and also with rounded gates and gates with the lever, gates with the knife edge.
Peter Bischney called me.
My phone rang at about 10 o'clock at night and I was at home, and it was Peter explaining his idea, and I thought he was completely mad. I said, yeah, I'll do it. It sounds great. Bonham will do it as well. It sounds mad enough for him.
And that's how it started.
And we've had a great time ever since. The first races were obviously very sort of raw. You know, we didn't really know. We were making the rules up as we went along.
We're all coming out of the aerobatics, and which are judged by people, and we wanted to have something measurable.
I'd describe it as a run what you brung kind of race. You know, it was let's see what we've got in the hangar. We'll take that to Zeltweg, and we'll see how it works.
The planes were not specially designed for the air race.
Russian aeroplanes, which are fantastic for aerobatics, but not very good for racing. The pylons were very different.
If you remember, it was a kind of sausage with 1,000 of ropes to make it fixed, and they were very, very sensitive of the wind.
And you could get a windscreen wiper effect. You'd kind of be approaching, and it was, you know, close an eye and try and go through the middle, and we'd actually try and duck to go lower, because down here there's more of a gap, and there were no rules about flying low then.
If you were hitting them, they could cut in your wing. I mean, it was not like now you hit them, that's it.
Now they're fantastic. Every part of the air race has come on a long way in those 12 years. It's amazing.
So it has developed as a motorsport to where we are now.
Now everybody is more competitive.
The guys are now spending a tremendous amount of time and money to save 100th of a second. I think it's great, you know, I think it's a better spectacle than it ever was, so it's come a long way.
Only the elite in aviation have the necessary skills to fly such high speeds at low altitude through specially designed racetracks in some of the most breathtaking locations on the planet. The current championship format, with pilots from all corners of the globe, is a world away from those pioneering days when Kirby Chambliss took his place among the original starters. The American is the only pilot from that era still competing, and his track record underlines why. 2 world titles and 32 podiums, including 10 race wins. He's one of the biggest names in aviation, staying hungry and successful by keeping pace with change, improving the plane, embracing new technology, and recruiting new team members to maintain maximum performance.
Some of the team will be changing, but, you know, that's inevitable. People go on and have different parts of their life, and, you know, their life changes. So, you know, I think that we'll be really competitive for 2019.
One of his recent recruits was tactician Paolo Escold, who helped 3-time world champion Paul Bonham dominate the sport until he retired in 2015. Chambliss signed him up and saw the benefit when he won 2 races in 2017 and could have won the title. The Texan and the Brazilian have become a formidable double act and are sure to be contenders again.
It's a love and hate relationship, of course.
You know, he's pretty diplomatic for, you know, an aeronautical engineer, I guess, and he does have some social skills.
When everything goes right, it's the love and everybody's happy, but most of the time it's not going right for us.
Kirby Chambliss picks up another penalty.
If I didn't believe in what he was telling me, there's no reason for me to have him, right? I think he's the best guy for the job.
For the computer, it's super easy to fly that, but for him, it's not, and I need to remember that. When I asked for a little bit more G and like 0.1 of a G more, he's like, do you really think I can do that inside the cockpit? And I say, yeah, of course, you're Kirby Chambliss. And Kirby it's one of the best pilots in the world, if not the best.
He also is good about letting me know, hey, even if we don't take first place, we need those points.
The American is in the hunt.
We do need to look at the bigger picture and to win the championship.
I tell people, probably out of the 14 guys, you know, that 12 can take the first spot, you know, I mean, at any given race. So all you can do from the pilot standpoint is you go out and you try to lay down the fastest time you can do and hope, you know, hope for the best.
The challenge from the next generation became clear in 2018. Chambliss was knocked out of 2 races by Britain's Ben Murphy, making his series debut.
Kirby may well just do this. 58.996. Ben Murphy goes through to the round of 8 for Great Britain.
Murphy also scored points in his first race, earning immediate respect from his rivals. No surprise then that the former Red Arrows leader exudes calm and confidence for 2019.
To be honest, for me, the move up to the Master class from the Challenger class it's probably been different to most people's experience. For me, the pressures were actually reversed because my background, like the Red Arrows, where I led a team of 100 people and 13 aeroplanes. So I'm very much used to having that team structure around me. It just helps completely clear your mind of all the other distractions, which is exactly what you need for a sport like this. We know the aeroplane's working, we know the team's working. That confidence in the game plan is to be in the round of 8 every single race.
Back-to-back Final Four appearances in the last 2 races ensured that Murphy became the most successful graduate from the Challenger Cup, a mighty achievement to confound all expectations.
Ben may be a rookie, but he's learning his craft very quickly indeed. A career best of 5th in Kazan, Russia.
We've learned a huge amount this year. We're going to learn a huge amount next year. We can link that hopefully directly to performance in the coming years. It's quite often you see guys or teams doing very well and then they sort of trail off in the second year and then peak again, and it's just making sure that the trajectory is always upwards.
Murphy's impact was mirrored by another of the sport's rising stars. Mika Brajot of France finished 4th in the 2018 championship in only his 2nd season. He's the youngest of the Masterclass pilots at 31. He moved up from the Challenger Cup in 2016, when he spent the year being mentored by the 2014 champion, Nigel Lamb.
I think for Mika to come in through the Master Mentoring Programme meant he got to know us as a team already, so he found it a lot easier just to slot in.
It was the opportunity to share any single element from the air race and the race atmosphere as well, coming from cleaning the plane to organizing the week and seeing what it is to fly a high-performance race plane in the track. And then at the end of the season, it was like a natural turnover from Nigel to me.
Mika, 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 Mika.
He's a very easy guy to work for, and I think as a whole team, we respect him massively.
My dad was very different. We would discuss our tactics and what we wanted to achieve on that flight, and he would go out there and fly it. And then if we wanted to make any changes or adaptations to the line, we would incrementally get closer to our target. Whereas Mika will fly what you want, and then he will do a drastic change to test the limits of the changes we want to make to the line, and then be able to back off and find a happy medium.
In my championship year with Nigel, we didn't know what it was like to not be in the Final Four. Now, I think we have gelled even stronger. We have all of the previous emotions from not doing so well to doing better, and now we are just gunning for Mika to get through to the next round.
The Frenchman is ambitious to fly high, yet humble enough to keep his feet firmly on the ground.
I have to say, Paul, no sign of nerves from the Frenchman in his first Final Four of his career. He's looking to go 58 seconds is the target, 57, and he could be on the podium. Brajot, again, is right in the mix.
If we can be every race in the Final Four and reach the podium and win races, that would be fantastic, definitely. That's, I think, our target for next